items are heard under that item. For the public record, please state your name. Is there anybody have any public comment? It has to be on things that are not on the agenda. Okay. Anybody up in Zoom world? Okay. So motion to approve the minutes from look like May 16, 2023. Motion or a thought? Here's a motion over here. Is it seconded? All in favor? Aye. Aye. So I assume that's good enough. So we got enough there. Item 5. Consider additional driveway approach at 1240 Kenneth Street. Staff report, I guess, would be the best way to go there.
Yeah, apologies. I mean,
Yeah, it's on this track.
If you want to sit here, I don't think anybody will mind.
Is that also shown? Thanks. My name is Patrick Grogan, and I'm the associate engineer with the Public Works Engineering Department. The purpose of this item is to have the Traffic Advisory Committee consider the addition of a second driveway at 1240 Kenneth Street. Next slide, please. The property owner of 1240 Kenneth Street is requesting a second driveway approach to be located on the north side of the property off of Kenneth Street. Next slide. Kenneth Street is classified as a residential street with a posted speed limit of 25 miles an hour and one lane of traffic in the northbound direction. Kenneth is approximately 21 feet wide, measured from face of curb to face of curb, with parallel parking on both sides. A sidewalk measuring approximately 4 feet wide is present on the opposite side of the street, across from the applicant's property. No sidewalk is present on the applicant's side of the street, but an unpaved area behind a rolled curb is approximately 4 feet wide. 1240 Kenneth Street is a single parcel with one residence and a detached one-car garage on the south side of the property. The property has approximately 75 feet of street frontage from Kenneth Street with an existing driveway, which has approximately 550 square feet of paved surface area. Off-street parking is provided by the one-car garage and driveway. The City of Seaside's Municipal Code Section 17.34.120, driveways and site access, outlines the relevant requirements for driveways of single-family dwellings as follows. Chapter 8.1. A single dwelling or duplex shall be allowed one driveway, except that a circular driveway may be allowed on a parcel with 70 feet or more of street frontage, and a parcel within the RS8 or RS12 zones with a frontage of 200 feet or more may have two separate driveways, provided that they are separated by a minimum of 100 feet or lesser distance as approved by the city engineer based on considerations of site topography and traffic safety. Section C.1. Driveways on abutting properties shall be separated by 6 feet unless the city engineer approves a shared single driveway. The 6-foot separation shall not include the transition or lead sections of each side of the driveway. Next slide, please. Staff recommends denying the resident's application for an additional driveway on Kenneth Street as the property does not meet the minimum requirements as stated in SMC section 17.34.120. Specifically, the property has less than 200 feet of street frontage, and the neighboring property to the north has an existing driveway less than 6 feet from the proposed location. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do any of the committee members have any questions? Okay. Yes, sir. You have about 3 minutes to make your plea as such, I believe, or questions of the committee or whatever you want to go forward with, and then we'll bring it back to this committee for recommendation.
My name is Amir Maliki. I'm the representative and the owner of this property. The existing driveway is very long and narrow, and for us for family to park 2 cars, we have to park back to back. The garage is not able to, both of our cars, SUVs are not able to fit through the garage, which is very small. So this property at this time technically doesn't have off-street parking to this very old property. Garage is very too small, and then if we were to park 2 cars on the property, it would be back to back. If one has to leave, if one is stuck, I mean, someone has to pull out and go back in. That is one of the issues with not being able to have 2 cars parked in the driveway. The second issue is we do want to add an ADU in the back of the property. The property has 5,200 square foot, and there's enough space for an ADU in the back, and that is our long-term plan. And second driveway will be helpful to accommodate the parking for that ADU, which will be added to that. And also the current existing driveway is already the current one is already right next to the property line with the neighbor. It's not following 3 feet or 6 feet distance, which is required. And then as far as taking away parking from the street, there would have to be 3 very compact cars parked back to back, to like all in order. Other than that, currently only 2 cars will technically fit in front of the house regardless, because it's just too small for 3 normal average size cars to fit back to back. So if the only parking that it will take away from the street is going to be a very small compact car. And that's if everyone just parked right, like very close to each other. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. I have one question, but then anybody else have a question? Seeing none, I'll ask my simple question. If you were to build an ARU, does that change the meeting the minimum requirements? I guess is my question. Just out of curiosity, just because maybe that would be a long-term opportunity. If I'm just a thought.
I think that's probably a planning question.
Yeah, so the answer to that question is it doesn't make any difference because we no longer require parking for ADUs.
Okay, that makes
So-
sense.
We certainly don't generally object to additional parking,
Yeah.
but we can't require it.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. I'm done.
And then,
I could ask a
I'll
question.
go ahead.
I was gonna ask, so from reading the staff report, it looks like you're citing 2 sections of code, one of which requires 200 feet between driveways on the same property, and the other one requiring 6 feet, or combining driveways for adjacent properties. What is the rationale behind those 2 requirements, and could this driveway be combined with the property with the driveway on the adjoining property?
So real quick, the first section of code says that properties with a street frontage of less than 200 feet are not entitled to a second driveway. But if they have more than 200 feet of street frontage, they can have it. It also says that the city engineer has to approve a joined driveway if you're going to do a single shared driveway for 2 properties.
So could that be done in this case?
That would be up to the city engineer.
Since the city engineer is amongst us, is that feasible?
Well, they still don't have the 200 feet, right?
They don't.
So they would have a second driveway, which does take up a parking.
Kristen, can you go back to the existing condition slide, please? That's I also don't know if a shared driveway can have a divider in the middle of it. That's something that we need to look into.
There's a divider.
Well,
There's
so
a-
he has some fence posts poured at the property line.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, he'd have to take those fence posts down, right?
I'm
And
not
he
sure.
would he need approval from like the neighboring property to have a shared driveway?
We haven't run into this condition before.
Yeah. I would
Like,
think
we
he
haven't,
would.
we haven't approved a shared driveway before, to my knowledge.
I would think he'd need approval from the other homeowner, because I don't know how that affects like his property value, because they have to disclose that kind of stuff when they sell property that have a shared driveway, like shared interests.
Yeah, I don't know if it creates any use or anything like that.
And whether the, you know, the neighboring property wants a gap between their driveway and someone else's driveway, you know?
To my knowledge, Public Works has not, and the city engineer hasn't approved a single shared driveway since any of us have been here.
That's very
A
short
year for
period
me,
of time,
3
yeah.
years for her.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't think about it because there was nothing, you know, that wasn't applied for, so there was no backup, like as far as whether he just, you know, the applicant discussed it with the neighbor and the neighbor is receptive to it. And so I wouldn't approve it unless I knew that the neighbor was receptive to it.
Why do we have this requirement that they not be adjacent to each other on adjacent properties?
I don't know why it was originally approved. It's probably been like that for.
It looks like there's no sidewalks up that area, so there would be no curb cuts.
Yeah, so on the applicant side of the street, it's a rolled asphalt curb and there's no sidewalk. The other side of the street, they do have concrete vertical curb and driveway approaches that are typical, but it looks like whoever developed, it's not contiguous, they're on the road block. So it looks like whoever developed those couple properties in a row put in sidewalk.
Yeah, I have comments, but then, or my only question would be, and then I'll come back for a comment after from him. I'm gonna try to be positive. If he found agreeable with the next door neighbor, and you all knew, and I appreciate that, would that be an opportunity for him to have some potential to bring it back from this committee with this letter saying, hey, I live at blankety blank, I'm the neighbor of blankety blank, and I'm good with this, and I think it's a great idea. Would he have a more reasonable opportunity to give him some kind of purpose to come back if this is denied? That's sort of a question.
The applicants have got letters of support from neighbors for things like lowering fences, so that they can maintain a site triangle from a driveway, for instance, where the neighbor would say that, yes, I will lower my fence, or the applicant is going to lower my fence for me, and I'm supportive of that, and I'm okay with it. That type of situation has been brought before TAC as part of that. But as far as the city engineer, she would accept the neighbor's letter of support for the shared driveway.
May I ask an additional question?
Sure.
Okay. So there's no sidewalks here, there's no curb cuts. What is to prevent him from simply putting in a patio right here? And not putting up a fence to separate it from the street?
That's essentially what's already happened.
Right,
Yeah,
so why is this
yeah,
a driveway?
So he has a patio, that's what he
It's
has
not
right
currently a
now.
driveway.
Okay,
So someone could park their car in front of that legally.
Right. Okay, so by making it a driveway, someone could not legally park in front of it.
Yeah.
But if this, will this be going to council regardless of what we do?
Yes.
So if council were to say, that, no, you can't make this a driveway, they don't have to tear any of this out, they just wouldn't be able to control whether people park in front of it.
To my knowledge, yes. Building permits are not required for exterior flat work as long as your lot coverage is under 65%, I think it is.
Something of that. effect.
For impervious area, you're allowed to have flat work pavement on your lot. So I don't see any way for them to say you have to rip this out because you are allowed to place flat work. So it could just be a patio if council denies it, but yeah, I don't see them saying he's got to move it out. He has other building permits active for this residence, but I confirm with building that flat work, exterior flat work does not require a building permit. And it's not into the city right away, so you also.
Any other comments at all? Comment, then we can figure out which way this group go my own. And this is just me. And I appreciate the units of staff. I have a problem with, on a personal level, when we say, because it's always been that way, but we don't, if this, often, too often, we say it's always been that way without why, I think you get a very good point. So personally, I'm just gonna wait till it comes to the council, for me personally, just because I think you may have some valid points. Planning director or economic director had some very good points. So I'm just gonna abstain, and then if anyone wants to make a motion, whatever they want to make a motion, that would be great.
Can I make
I'll
some
Yes,
comments?
please do.
Okay, I would just, I think, in terms of trying to solve issues, understanding why ordinances were passed enables, in this case, I think, the city engineer to evaluate whether or not these actually represent issues. The 200 feet, I understand that's what the code says. I also find that perplexing because we have lots of driveways closer than 200 feet. I'm not sure from a vehicular movement standpoint why we need that much of a distance. In the staff report, it said these were 75 feet apart. That's your typical lot width in this town, or narrower. So we generally have driveways more often than every 75 feet. So I'm not clear why we wouldn't make an exemption and why the city engineer or this committee, whichever it is, couldn't make a finding that this was exempt. I do understand the potential for vehicular movements on adjacent driveways being an issue, and I understand that, normally you have a shared curb cut, and that means you can't have two separate curb cuts when they're right next to each other. And I also understand that it's challenging to declare that they're adjacent to each other when A, you haven't gotten the other property owners say so on that, and B, there is a proposed wall right there that's under construction. So it is kind of hard to have a shared driveway with a wall running down the middle. That being said, I personally would think it would make sense to determine what the rationale behind the code is, and then give the city engineer the opportunity to determine whether or not the driveway combination could be safely done, and if so, would there have to be modifications made to what's here? Or maybe, yeah, I don't know. But that's sort of my 2 cents. Is I feel like I would like to know if we can't if the city engineer believes that it would not be appropriate to allow these exceptions in these cases, I would like to be able to understand why that is.
So on that note, is it possible to, based on your concept, which I agree with, have a little bit more, and it doesn't have to, you can all decide what you want to, coming back to the next meeting for why the ordinance was created, is there any flexibility, as you mentioned, and any opportunities to create a win-win situation? That is just my, but this group is obviously can vote in where they want to vote. I'm just, or a motion they want to make, it just, sometimes without enough information, it's hard to make something that is brought back at a later time, but that's just a thought.
I would support something to that effect, because if it's not safe, then, I don't want to be a person approving something that's not safe, right? But if it's safe, then why couldn't we make an exemption to allow for when it's a nice looking driveway? It's certainly a nice looking, fence that's going in there, and someone is trying to improve their property. So if it's, like I said, if it's not safe, then I wouldn't support it. If it's safe, then I don't see why we wouldn't. And in this case, I don't feel that I've got information as to whether or not, in this case, there would be any danger to the public, or neighboring property owners to become maneuvering if they were allowed to proceed with this. So I would support a motion to have this come back at the next meeting with a little bit more information.
So I'll make, what I hear you saying then is a motion, is there a second on that motion?
Was that a motion?
Yes, I
Yeah,
thought.
we'll make that a motion.
Second.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, I'm sorry,
Not in favor?
not in favor?
Yeah, I could go along with that, yeah, sure.
So you a no or yes?
I'm, okay, yes.
I'm not trying to make more work for you. On the front, if I can give you more work up front.
To be clear, the motion is to bring this item back next week.
With the, looking at, as I heard it, explained very well for reasoning for what we're doing and why we're doing it, and if there's any opportunities to work with the applicant to benefit out the city, I guess, if that's a logical concept.
Other than the history behind the 6-foot separation of driveways on the like property lines in this case, is there any other information?
I'd like to understand, I would like to have the city engineer provide their evaluation as to what, if we can't grant the exemption, why not? And I'm definitely willing to listen, and I would really enjoy, I would appreciate hearing that level of expertise.
So you know the direction that seemingly going for more information, so come back next time and be open, and hopefully, in my always mind, if there can be some kind of communication between A and B,
I'll keep them updated.
yeah, so that way we all feel that there's communication. Okay, so you got the direction, you didn't get a no, which is a good thing. It won't be going into the city council, it'll come back here one more time. Okay? Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you all very much for your, whatever. I just have one staff communication. Is there any other staff communications that won't be done?
During the last meeting, committee members had asked about abandoned bus stops.
Yeah.
We are in coordination with MST to get a list of all of the abandoned stop locations in the city, and then we're gonna evaluate each location to see if they merit painting the curb or moving a signpost.
That was gonna be mine. So, there's one right on, it's kind of so blatant on Yosemite by the church, across from Reverend Britt's church. It's about 60-foot red space for no reason, close to you, sort of kind of.
Inside the street.
On the other side of this street, there's another church on the other side, there's about a 60-foot, that's pretty blatant. And obviously people go to church and it's just,
Do you know what the cross street is for that?
it's right on Yosemite, if you know where Reverend Britt's church is, it's,
Yosemite and Broadway.
Yosemite and Broadway, it's right on the Yosemite side,
1620.
yeah.
Oh, the Great Victory.
Great Victory.
It's right across, literally right across the street, there's about a 60-foot bus stop
Across the street on Yosemite or across the street?
on Yosemite.
So by the Seventh-day Adventist Church?
Yes,
Okay.
I think that's the name of the church, it's right there, might be one on Broadway
Yeah,
too.
it helps. I haven't seen. Bus stop.
Yeah, the bus hasn't stopped there for
Years.
yeah, they approved it about a year or two ago, and
Okay.
they rerouted the buses and
Right,
all that
right.
kind of stuff. But it just seems like could be used for parking, that's all. Even for your events, to be honest with you, when you have events over there, people are looking for spaces to
Yeah.
park. But anyway, so we'll keep pushing for
The one
that,
in front of, was it Girls Club?
yeah,
Very large.
yeah, and again, there's a lot of activity, over there that. Be it soccer, football, and everybody's walking up on Yosemite to go play soccer, so we just need to be. And I know MST is not gonna take care of it, they say it's a city's fault, so whatever that's worth. Anyway, that's it. Anything else? Seeing none, let's call the meeting adjourned at 5:29. Thank you so very much.